Good morning, everybody. Sam, first of all, thank you very much for your generous words and for bringing together this network of, I have to use the word eclectic. I'm actually very, very humbled right now and like to tell you that ends my presentation. I am not a pantheon like many of you are in the room. I had no idea. I tried to study as much as I could before I came here because I do not sell exhibition space. I do not sell trade show space. But I've been blessed to have been promoted and to run major corporations where I've had the honor and the privilege to run everything from the bottom up to the top, back down to return on investment, return on reputation, and everything that goes through it. So in my 10 years at the Ziff Davis Publishing Company, for those of you that are publishers, it's great to see publishers and the editorial community in the room. I was honored to be the publisher of Windows Sources, publishing director on PC Magazine, Computer Shopper, and we are in the Guinness Book of World Records of selling more ad pages than any magazine in the history of the business. It's 1,202 ad pages back in 1989. And the book, the publication, was actually 2.5 inches thick. And that was pre-internet. And boy, did things change. I was honored to be executive vice president and general manager of the internet group for a company called ViewSonic many years ago. And we took that company from about 325 million to 1.2 billion. We were ranked last in technology in market share, actually 15th. NEC was number 1. Samsung was number 5, etc. And in 2.5 years, we moved to being the #1 best-selling monitor and display in all of retail in North America, and number 2 only behind the mighty Mr. Michael Dell in alternate channels of distribution. I was honored to be the executive vice president of sales, marketing, operations for Samsung Electronics for about 6.5 years, and we took that business in consumer electronics from about $325 million, where we were the niggling, purse-proud, cheese-paring, bag-a-latel brand, business, demand generator, open box at the bottom of the shelf. Did you like that? And we were dancing on the tip of a pin. We were neither predator nor prey to the mighty Sony. We were neither predator nor prey to the mighty Panasonic. And with a lot of hard work, 18-hour days, no breakfast, no lunch, and with a very keen pernickety and fastidious and dauntless focus on the business, we were able to achieve greatness. And through my time at Ziff Davis, and through my time at ViewSonic, and through my time at Samsung, I again headed up many departments. I do believe in the ambient need to manage and control and command every aspect of the business outside of the building, meaning sales, marketing, communications, PR, trade shows, the internet, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason I say that is I have made a lot of sales calls in my lifetime, a lot of sales calls. And for 10 years at the Ziff Davis Publishing Company, I probably called on, I did 15 face-to-face calls a week. Believe me, where's my office? It's at 35,000 feet in a silver bullet aimed somewhere on this global planet trying to get some business done. And I've met with CMOs, vice presidents of marketing, sales chiefs, and it always amazes me how their scope of interest and scope of command is almost a fissure or schism of the entire picture. So, as Sam probably knows me, I enjoy the dignity of knowledge. I studied very hard. My God, I traveled through Google, Boogle, Noogle, Soogle, and Roogle, trying to find as much information so that I could be relevant today among a group of people that it just amazed me. Sam, I think this exercise, I've done a lot of these events, this exercise of you standing and delivering, just hearing your titles and what you do, and how each one of you is so different and has such sagacity in your given place and time, yet we're all together in one room, is a humbling experience. So I say all this to you, and I tell you my background, I'm not that important. I'm a guy who picks up the toolkit and runs around and get work done. But I say it to you because without understanding that, I've spent my life in technology, sales, marketing, operations, product management has always reported to me. Without having that as a foundation or a business vernacular for you, what I'm about to show you may not be as fungible as it should be. You know, I always bend. I always think you can't hear me unless I stick my face in here. So first of all, I do have a very jaunty spirit. I've raised over $11 million for children. I'm on the board of directors of about 5 charities, so I do believe in the spirit of giving and the spirit of generosity. I also believe in non-conventional marketing wisdom. Is he still on slide 1? What happened? He's lost control of his presentation already. So I'm going to put my intense sobriety hat on. I'm actually going to get very intense because I actually love the business that I play through. And I do believe that the united force of winning is so much more on the small, medium, and large corporations and so much less on the excellence I've seen in exhibitions. I spent millions of dollars on behalf of corporations at Comdex for many, many years. I was the one that decided that we would have the world's largest booth at the Consumer Electronics Show at 34,000 square feet. And the reason we made that decision is because we earned the right to have a booth that size. We earned the right to have our retailers, our partners, our business leaders congeneer together in our booth in a way that 6 years earlier they would not even have shown up. They would not even have said, let's go have a meeting with the Samsung Corporation. It wouldn't have happened. So I've done the negotiations. I can stand and deliver and be happy to for 5 hours as to why I think Comdex, which was the world's largest IT trade show, demised itself. I can do a diatribe on it, or I can do a positive spin on it. But the fact of the matter is, I love trade shows, I love exhibitions, and I believe that pictures at an exhibition is all about looking at the prism slightly different from a person who spent the entire part of my life hip-hopping around in silver bullets and trying to be a market maker of products, especially during the times that we spent on exhibitions. Slide 2. So there are 5 key areas that I wanted to bring to the attention of the room. And because the room is a little bit eclectic in terms of all the different numerators and denominators of your experience, I thought that the presentation, and I've read the rest of the agenda for the day, and it's probably more relevant and more focused on what you do collectively and individually, but I thought I would take you through a walk of the life of someone who is responsible for making decisions about every aspect of sales, marketing, operations, and so on. So the 5 key areas for me is leadership. Very, very important to be great leaders. The second area that's very important to me is the ability to deliver great creativity. The third, well, you can read the slides. You like this slide? How many of you like Mickey Mouse? Look, only a few would admit it. I love Mickey Mouse. I have a personal problem. I go to the toy store, and I stand in the aisle, and I look at the little toy soldiers in the plastic bag, and I stare at them for 20 minutes, and my wife says, what are you doing? I said, I want to get that feeling again, that emotional capital that I had as a child, that I could spend 2 weeks on the floor playing with soldiers. And if I could figure out how to capture that through creativity, then I would have a great opportunity to use that creativity as a weapon of choice in business. So I try really hard on the creative side. So let me talk about leadership in my world order. If you want to be the leader, you have to act like a leader. And the world that I travel through is, I started in the information economy, where we started to take large mainframe computings and bring it down to the PC level, and people complained about this huge device on their desk. We moved out of the information economy and went to the knowledge economy. The knowledge economy is all about the internet. The internet, in my humble opinion, web squatters, web pedestrians, is all about Darwin on speed. It is the fastest unionization of push and pull on the planet. And later I'll talk about speed of execution, time to volume, and the ability to build competitive advantage just on speed itself. And speed and exhibitions and trade shows have so much in common, it is almost mind-boggling to me. Yet anyone who's ever called on me has never talked to me about speed, has never talked to me about acting like the leader to become the leader and all the touch points around it. So we went from the information economy to what I call, and forgive me if anyone in the room knows anyone or personally has it, it's called the ADD economy. In the ADD economy, if you're not on a BlackBerry, you're on a notebook. If you're not on a notebook, you're on an iPod. If you're not on an iPod, you're on an iPad. If you're not on an iPad, you're on the iPad and you're watching TV while you're talking on your cell phone. So the problem is in business and in the consumer world Is this okay? Is this presentation okay so far? I'm just trying to keep your attention. In the business world, as in the consumer world, so many business people are a mile wide and not an inch deep. So many consumers are a mile wide and not an inch deep. And that presents a whole series of problems for all of us. And then finally, the economy I believe we're in now is the social networking and social engineering economy. And if you said, oh, come on, for those of you that say, social engineering network, it's a buzzword, the conundrum is that the kids are living in the social networking world and social engineering world. And those kids are traveling through time, and over time, they will be up here standing and delivering. So they don't do email, they do Facebook. They don't create a video and email it, they put it up on YouTube. The world has changed. So let me make a proposition about leadership. And it's axiomatic to me that the leadership position is very, very important. And the leadership position has to do with the red ocean versus the blue ocean. And with all due respect to the final keynote speaker, I'm going to stay away from too much of this. But I will tell you this. In the world where social engineering and networking has become so important, in a world where it really is all about circulation, it's all about subscriptions, it's all about repeating a process, and it's about attracting, converting, and retaining business people, consumers, anybody who has a pocketbook, anyone we want to do business with. It's that simple with economy of language. We need to attract them, convert them, and retain them. And basically on the left-hand side, the reason I put this up is this was my world order. I was feeling so good. I had the rhythm down. I had the impact down. I understood what to do. This is how we do exhibitions and trade shows. And then suddenly it all changed. Suddenly the weapon of choice was not the physical. Suddenly the weapon of choice was the digital. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about how my world has changed in terms of someone who has to deliver back return on investment and a return on reputation. And let me tell you how I look at blue ocean and red ocean. All the way to the left, polarized, consistency is the refuge of the unsure. Now, right about now, you ought to be thinking about some of the people you call on and meet with who want to remain very, very consistent. All the way to the right, complexity is the refuge of the unsure. So they make things very, very complex, and they don't simplify it. And I believe that the cynosure between the complexity and consistency is really all about best-of-breed results in the exhibition, trade show, communication, sales, and marketing at the last 3 feet of the sale of that exhibition. So, as happy as it all sounds, can you imagine what my world is like when I think about I'm going to do an exhibition or a trade show? I'm in hyper-changing short product life cycles 24 hours a day. I've got companies who want to scotch, who want to subjugate, who want to take away our market share, take away our revenues, take away our profits, kick us off the shelf 24 hours a day. And in the middle of all this, I have to worry about all these ambient touch points in order to be able to ensure a successful return on investment for the company. So when I think about blue ocean and I think about the perspective of somebody inside a small, medium, or large corporation, it's very, very tough out there. It's very, very tough. The roads are long. It costs a lot of money to get together and try to do an exhibition. And if I don't have it all right and I don't use the power of the digital side of the world, I won't be successful. I don't know about all of you, but the margins are getting tighter. We're trying to stretch the dollar. Layoffs are happening. I think you heard that Mark Hurd at HP is laying off 9,000 people. That's a big number. So as all this is going on and we're trying to figure out how to get better throughput and return on investment, the really good news is that it's coming. It's all coming to the relevancy of social groups and social networking, which really is what exhibitions are all about, in my opinion. It is a time to social engineer and do many important things. But the real power is the social networking of a trade show or exhibition. And the word networking is not the human capital back and forth, but what you do before, during, and after that delivers a lot of power. I'll give you a simple example. I asked the photographer, very simple. I asked the photographer to take a picture of me in front of the sign that says ECF sponsors. So as I was doing that, Sam looked over and goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm going to take a picture of myself in front of the sign that says sponsors because I'm going to send each one of them a relevant thank you note for paying for me to stand and deliver in front of such an important group and just thank them. So what is that? Is that social engineering? Is that social networking? Is that just being a nice guy? Or does that connect me to very important people who have the will, the need, and the means to figure out how to build a deeper and richer, important relationship with all of us? I think it's that. So when I think about this, the person that I've always had to report to is either a CEO or a CFO. And when I explain, look, we're going to take a piece of our budget and we're going to go do this. And by the time I show them the costs to exhibit, the cost for the drayage, the cost for the union members, the cost to get the job done, they're not even listening anymore. They just say, wait, Pete, what did you say? No. We're going to spend $1.7 million if I'm a decent company. Or if I'm Samsung, we're going to spend $27 million for 5 days. They suspend their disbelief and they say, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe that's why, Sam, every 18 months, CMOs are replaced. Maybe they walk in and they don't know how to stand and deliver because they don't know how to sell and they don't know how to build the story around return on investment. You see, the CFO is worried about having the largest museum of failed products on the planet. It costs a lot of money to manufacture, tool, and bring a product to market, and what does that have to do with a trade show and exhibitions? So, Mr. Blue Ocean, he says to me, Mr. CMO, you explain to me why I should spend money and time on exhibiting. You explain the ribs of the umbrella. You explain how the brand promise will be accelerated. Explain to me why this Tony, very she exhibition you want to put together is going to drive our future, our brand, our demand, our channel strategies, our market share. It's a tough question. I don't know if you've had these conversations with people who are really in charge. Maybe your lives are fairly easy. Maybe people just call up and say, hey, I want to exhibit. I don't think so. I think it's getting tougher and tougher, and I think the goal is bigger is better. Publishing teaches you it's all about size, color, location, and the right circulation. So we must be bigger, and we must be better all the time. So I go through this entire stand and delivery, and here's what the CFO and CEO says. They say, baloney. I don't know what you're talking about. We're not going to spend $1.9 million. We can't afford it. You've got to prove to me why I should spend the money. You've got to prove to me that all the assets of the corporation, you've got to show me that you can shred the rule book and do a blue ocean, and then I'll consider it. So really, the interesting part is I have been honored to go to so many exhibitions and trade shows, and the only ding I've ever seen in my entire life was one time I noticed at a trade show there was, Sam, about 6 or 7 different companies that were missing. You know, there was the name of the company, there was their booth, there was nobody there. And I thought that's pretty sad. Either they went bankrupt or somebody's not doing their job. But the excellence has been just incredible and pretty consistent and kinetic. The problem has been that when everyone drags back to the office, no one capitalizes on the expenditures that were just taken care of. I know, I've been inside corporate America, small, medium, and large. It's just like, all right, let's move on. And we got a few leads. So, I do believe that the internet, which is Darwin on speed, whatever form and flavor you want to talk about, whether it's social engineering, networking, email marketing, CRM, et cetera, is really the tool and power of choice. And the question is, does the exhibitor have the responsibility to deliver this 360-degree ambient position and talk in this language? Or do you stick to your guns about this is what we bring together? Here is our unique editorial franchise and position, meaning here are the people that are going to come to the trade show. Here's why you should be there. Here's why the exhibition is going to make sense for you in any flavor and time. in gathering these people together. So I built an answer. I built an answer to the CFO and the CEO, and what I decided to do was take every single touch point of our business, from the sales side to the marketing side to the communication side to the internet side, every touch point, and build this what we'll call Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune is really a Concorde, if you will. It's an intrepid way of standing and delivering and talking about the fact that we are going to do a webcast from our exhibition floor. And while we're doing the webcast, we're going to automatically email it out to those people who said they couldn't come to the trade show. And how do we know those people? Because we run CRM. And what do we define CRM to be? Customer Relationship Management. No. CRM, for me, stands for Consumers Really Matter. Whether the consumer is someone who's going to the exhibition or trade show, or the consumer is someone we're trying to sell at the last 3 feet of the sale, who is an actual business or regular consumer. And so if you combine any of these, just think of these as permutations, or think of these as aggregations. And you grab one, you grab two, you grab three, you grab four, and then you combine it with the power of bringing people together. Now you have a lot of power. So now we use the power of the internet, we use the power of social engineering and networking, we use the power of email marketing, we use the power of webcasts, and we bring it all together. And I have to tell you that the reason we wound up, and some of these data points weren't there, the language of social networking wasn't there, but the reason we showed so much success, if you think any company lives on the 10 digits, it's a Samsung Electronics Corporation. It's a 10-digit company. Everything's 10 digits. The CFO is no longer someone who stands there and says, I'm going to do this alone. It's the Chief Marketing Officer, who he now calls the Chief Metric Officer, whose job is to metricize all of this. And this has worked for me and for my companies for the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 years. So speaking of social engineering, it's interesting. I'm sure, you know, I'm probably a double black belt in this issue of social engineering because it's just so interesting to me. You know, we all understand it. You find locations, you listen for a while, you congeneer in, you become part of the group, you don't hit them over the head. I get all that. But it's interesting because we've been doing social engineering since we were born, and social networking. And last night, we actually did a lot of social engineering and networking together. It was a lot of fun. So it's a very primate subject, but it's just so important to the success of any small, medium, and large corporation. And I thought I'd show you this sort of jaunty, spirited little video here to amplify it. So those that really understand circulation and publishing, which I just absolutely love, in my opinion, the best retailers in the world are not retailers, they're publishers. What does that mean? I don't want to name a company. Let's call it ABC Retailer, and let's say they have 900 locations. Are they a retailer or are they a publisher? They publish in a Sunday circular what they have for you. They publish on the internet what you can come find. They publish in their PRN screens in the store, here's what's going on. They publish by social networking and engineering. They publish by radio and television commercials. And then they ask the manufacturers to pay in with marketing development funds to drive more advertising, marketing, and publishing. So when I think about the social networking and I think about this, I realize very, very quickly that we should be doing the same anytime we spend a dollar, especially when we bring people together. So to me, it's about circulation and publishing. I'll give you an example. It took, to get to 50 million circulation. Now, I want you to think about the relevancy of all the different areas that you're responsible for. But it took, to get to a circulation of 50 million, call it 50 million, 10 million, but these are actual numbers, 50 million, it took national television 38 years to wind up having 50 million eyeballs on the TV. It took radio 14 years to get to 50 million eyeballs. It took 3 years for the iPhone, iPad, what's the MP3 player? iPod, my God. iPod, it took 3 years to get to 50 million. It took Facebook 9 months to get to 100 million. It took YouTube 5 months to get to 200 million. And in point of fact, if you looked at Facebook's current circulation, it would actually be the 5th largest country in the world. Think about it. Behind China, India, United States, etc. Demi Moore and her husband Ashton like to say that they receive more back and forth social engineering network than the population of Brazil on a daily basis. So the fact of the matter is we have to find a way to utilize all that power of social networking and engineering. And don't take my word for it. There has been a multitude of advertisements, multitude of stories about the power of us, about the shifting global economy going to the social engineering and networking around circulation and publishing, before, during, and after. And so I would ask a question here, whose responsibility is it? Is it the responsibility of me running the company to worry about that wheel of fortune, or is that a service that can be provided? Like a webcast. I've never had anyone come up to me and say, listen, we're going to webcast everything from your booth as part of this exhibition. I've never had anyone come to me and say, why don't we take video outtakes of your best product managers and we're going to put them up on the following sites that are relevant to people who did not come to CES this year but are hunting for information. By the way, we have an email marketing list of everybody who's involved in consumer electronics who are either manufacturers or retailers, et cetera, et cetera. No one's ever come to me about that, but maybe that's the responsibility of the corporations. Or maybe in Blue Ocean, there's opportunity there. Again, don't take my word for it. There's the stats. This is from an exhibition study. There was probably 400 different research studies online regarding exhibitions, but you can see that the social engineering and social networking thrive is becoming more and more important. And you're hearing about it in business also. And Cisco, by the way, is one of the world leaders in utilizing, first and foremost, the intranets and the extranets, and now utilizing the power of social engineering and networking across a vast horizon of touch points, applets, servlets, and so on and so forth. So I highly suggest that we find a way to extend our circulation and our publishing models around exhibits and trade shows utilizing this power. The other part that I've learned in the unbridled thrill of driving social engineering and networking is consumers are very fidgety. They don't like hucksters. You know, in the old world order, you could run ads. Today's world order, tell Facebook you want to run an ad, or tell a lot of the networks or places you want to run ads. Half of them will tell you ads don't work anymore. The other half will say, don't try to cluster people together. So this slide I like because it reminds me of CRM and the promise of consumers really matter. Each one of these people is an individual, and the more we have on the database of the individuals and the more we can treat them with dignity before, during, and after our time to meet with them and a time to congeneer with them is very, very important. So all the flapping lip and blather up here and all the pap, as I tell you that I live at the gates of hell sometime in commodity hell with hyper-changing short product life cycles. Some of you are in a time-to-market business. Sam, you know, you and I spoke almost a year ago about this opportunity to come here and stand and deliver humbly to a great group of people with great sagacity in their given ways. But that I would call as time to market. Some businesses are time to volume. In a hyper-changing short product life cycle, I've actually got 90 days to make profit on a product, and then it's gone. So the first 30, 60, 90 days is the holy grail. And then I've been eclipsed by competitors, prices have dropped, things have changed, and so I need a digital dashboard because I need to speed up in a fastidious and dauntless way my ability to propagate and be a docent for consumers so I can beat the competition. Think of that metaphor if you have an exhibition or a booth in a trade show. How do I speed up the ability to drive people to my booth, build greater interest through creativity, scotch the competition without mentioning the competition is not as good as me, and then build a lifetime relationship on the investment that you made? I mentioned earlier that in my humble opinion, that the business, any business that we're in, is about attracting, converting, and then retaining. Some people like to call it lifetime value of a customer. Some people like to say, oh, you know, what you want to do is you want to dulcify and mollify consumers to stay with you a very, very long time. How do we do that? And so if I go a step further, I say that the goal in any good sales or marketing or exhibition program is to get, in a relevant way, relevant to that person's mindset, your attention, your interest, your conviction, your desire, so I can close you. It might take a month, it might take 3 years. But in essence, it's about attracting, converting, and retaining. So I built a digital dashboard that connects. So in the area of attracting, and I do believe you have a copy of this slide, in the area of attracting, there's all these touch points that are very, very important in order to drive the attraction to the company, to your services, to your support. And then there's a whole series, both digital and non-digital, to talk about how we can convert you as a consumer or business leader. And then you'll see we have this magic CRM back end, which is all about retaining, so that I'm top of mind with you, top of mind in a relevant way, and what's important to you. So when I look at all that and I say, well, this is very, very ambient. This allows me to be the pilot for the storm. When I go in and see the CFO and he says, tell me about what you're doing with exhibitions, I can use this landmark, durable as steel, and say, let me show you how it plugs into our entire sales, marketing, communications, PR, digital side, cell phone, back end, CRM, consumers really matter, infrastructure, data mining, and the whole 9 yards. And all because of the power of the worldwide internet, which I call Darwin on speed, the fastest unionization of push and pull before, during, and after. So subject matter, return on investment, ROR. I want you to know that I probably looked on the internet utilizing the power of Google, and get ready for Google TV. You're going to have some real exciting times at Google TV, trust me. And literally, I think, Sam, I came up with 1,725,000 articles on return on investment for exhibitions or trade shows. And so I tried to say, well, let me pull it together so I sound smart. I'm going to say something you already know. So, wow, this guy really understands how you build return on investment, cost cutting. I read all about it. But from the perspective of inside the corporation, this is really how we view return on investment. Number one, we know that the vanishing mass market has gone away. It blows my mind that we have 250 television stations. You don't want to hear the story, but it's amazing to me that CBS tells me at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night they've got 30 million households. And ESPN tells me you have 35 million households. And then Channel 4, NBC says, oh, we have 27 million households. And Channel 5, Fox says, we have American Idol, we have 110 million households. Then I look up and say, but there's only 115 million households. There's only 365 Americans. How is this happening? And of course, I haven't brought up DVRs and PPCs and DVDs, and people have lives and people are busy. So the fact of the matter is, it is critically important that we as a team of people better propagate and stand and deliver on the power of true face-to-face social networking social engineering, and the return on investment and value of it. It's very, very important. By the way, I have been forlorn watching and listening to the MPA. Does anyone in the room belong to the MPA? That's the Magazine Publishers Association. I have watched the magazine business outside of certain sections, cooking, women's magazines, just nosedive. I mean, who would believe that Newsweek is going to shut down? Who would believe that Business Week would be bought by Bloomberg? Why? Very, very simple. Very simple. The fact of the matter is the MPA did not stand and deliver and explain that, you know, the radio did not replace, the TV didn't replace the radio, the internet didn't replace the TV. So on exhibitions and trade shows, I think the day has come. I think it's all positive. I think it's all flowers. I think it's the greatest opportunity that I have ever seen now that Sam's got me focused here like a laser on this subject matter. He's going to send me an email next week saying, did you wonder why I made you study like that? We want you to do the following now. But the fact of the matter is that it's all gone to smaller nucleus and the nexus between face-to-face and then the expansion utilizing all the tools. So when I look at return on investment, there are 5 quadrants that I have to worry about. Brand and demand equity, critically important. Before, during, and after. For a group of people and a convention of people that should be the most relevant, most precise, most urbane group of people that I need to do business with. So of course in this arena of return on reputation, of course I'll have research deeply entrenched here to make sure I get that return. But also demand equity, so that I understand what has happened in terms of the return on investment for the dollars we spent and what business we conducted. The second piece is expanded channel coverage. So it's critically important for me to be able to stand and deliver and say, even before I get started, to the CFO and CEO, this is our current channel. This is who we do business with. Well, first and foremost, we have to protect our camps, so we need to bring them into our exhibition. But furthermore, these 19 channel, quote-unquote, non-partners, we need to find a way to bring them together and show them the might of our product, show them our new product introductions, get them involved. So there are ways for us to measure that expanded coverage. The return on investment on an e-platform. There are so many intricate touch points. I was fortunate to run CircuitCity.com. We took that from $600 million to $1.2 billion in so many different touch points that we utilized. And we inclusively used that engine, which was about selling to consumers, when we went to trade shows. Believe it or not, we used the CRM engine, we used all the tools that we had, and we used that to drive the relationship with new channel partners, old channel partners, and partners that we wanted to do business with. 90-day sales conversions, pretty simple. What did we convert in 90 days after we met and before? And then market share and shelf share. We do believe, from my experience in exhibitions and trade shows, I do believe that we have gained shelf space, driving push, authorizing more pull through more advertising and marketing, and pulling it all together. So, in the world that I come from, you must be highly innovative. I bow my hat and my cap to the mighty Steve Jobs. Thank God he's healthy again. This man has absolutely turned the entire world upside down. He's used PR as the weapon of choice. He's utilized digital tools and assets as a way for us to understand the real power of return on investment and return on reputation through the farm that he built. A farm that cannot be duplicated by anyone. No one can duplicate the power he has to frank and touch all the devices that they have built and delivered and all the revenue opportunities available. I don't know if you heard about this, but when he first built that farm, about a year and a half into it, as more and more of the iPods were being sold, he went to ABC and cut a deal with them to be able to download an episode of Lost down to consumers the next day. So you watch it on TV, and the next day you could have it on your iPod, and for 99 cents. The size of the circulation and the size of the revenue that occurred from them allowing him to do that scared the hell out of Hollywood. and they shut it down because they couldn't understand what was happening. How could they have 900,000 people come in one day and buy the episode on this device? Absolutely amazing. Speed is essential. How fast do we move before, during, and after? So in my world, again, it's hyper-changing, short product life cycles. New products are thundering out of warehouses at speeds that just eclipse themselves. And when we get to a place in time where we can stand and deliver, we have to prove that we're ahead of the curve with new technologies and products. And we have to do this with people who aren't even focused on what's going on in our booth. They have their own business, they have their own lives, they have their own problems, they have their own opportunities. And that's why it's so important, in my opinion, to ensure that we have a back end that is designed around any dollars we spend to do social business networking, if you will, and be able to build a long lifetime value with consumers and business leaders. So, this was a perspective. Forgive me if in a room with so many different dimensions and numerators and denominators, if I haven't hit on notes that were important to you personally. Forgive me if I'm the master of the obvious in certain areas. My view is you're all very senior executives, and the issue may not be winning mind share about this subject with you. The issue might be down and up the food chain. Is your entire team thinking that way about how to blue ocean your business and make it bigger and stronger and better? Inside of companies, are we blue oceaning, or is it still the same? I meet with a CMO and said, let's talk about social engineering. He laughs at me and says, boy, you're pretty stupid. I have nothing to do with social engineering. I'm the CMO. Okay, let's talk about your back-end CRM system. Peter, that's the other building. Who does exhibitions? Oh, that's 2 buildings down over here. So in order for us to build a durable as steel foundation and future around the power of all this, I truly believe that we have a responsibility, as do the companies that we serve, to ensure that we're mollifying and working with them to help them re-engineer their future and the power of exhibitions and trade shows, utilizing all of these different touch points and networks and authorization of assets to ensure the greatest return on investment and return on reputation for the company. Hope this was useful. Thank you very much for your time.
Peter, thank you very much. It was very, very useful. I think it's interesting that almost in an unplanned way that Peter, as the keynoter, has really set the day up to be strategic, to really challenge us to realize we are one piece in a multitude of touch points and how we can take advantage of that. I think that my biggest takeaway is that our business from now on is going to be flowers. I think I heard him say that. So I think that's a good thing, that the importance of face-to-face. So now what we have is we need to get our microphone people ready to go. Hopefully in the back of the room, if we can find, there's one microphone, and we need another one over in that corner. And we have 4 folks. What I want you to do is raise your hand. Please, again, for the benefit of the group, say your name and then ask your question. And I will start out. I'll lead by example. Hello, my name's Sam. My question is, in the beginning of your talk, you mentioned that you haven't heard, when you've been in charge of the marketing dollars, you haven't heard a trade show executive come to you and say anything about how participating, exhibiting at my event will help speed up your sales. I think you said that we've never talked to you about how our events accelerate what you're trying to achieve. Could you talk to that for a minute?
Yeah, I would just say that it goes back to relevancy again. Anytime I've ever called on anyone or was honored to have a meeting with any executive or anyone that I'm going to do business with, I'm extremely pernickety of studying every single touch point of the business, knowing what they do, knowing who their competition is, knowing what they're trying to get done. So to that point, Sam, I've never really had anyone come in and say, who was selling me an event, if you will, talk to me about the competitive threats and the competitive opportunities, specific to what they observe is happening real time in the business. And I just think that if you could do more of that, you'd probably have more people listening with squinting ears. Also, they've not talked about the benefits of trade shows in the language of speeding up the business, of earning more channel opportunity, or earning more lifetime value, or meeting new customers, or reducing overall costs, or connecting everything together. So maybe you're all doing that, and maybe your teams are all doing that, but I personally haven't experienced it, number one. Number two, because sometimes I'm up in this level, on the C level of the organization, I've been blessed to be there. Potentially, what if you are telling the VP of exhibitions, or the VP of product management, all of this, but the guy who's making a decision doesn't hear it? What do you do about that? How do you make sure I hear it? And I'll show you a way that I cheat. I'll show you the way I cheat. This is a true story. You can call Marcia Grand, who's the publisher. How many of you have ever heard of Twice magazine? Okay. Twice is the preeminent, #1, best circulation, best read, in my humble opinion, for the consumer electronics retail business. And I said to her, I will take the cover 2 spread, open up the magazine, cover 2 spread, every issue for the entire year, but I want to see your circulation. And she said, I'm not showing you my circulation. I said, no, I'm not going to do it unless I see your circulation, because I need to talk to, at the time, Brad Anderson, who's the CEO of Best Buy, and I know he reads the publication. So we cut a deal, and she allowed me to look at, I gave her 5 retailers, and she came back, 5 retailers, her total circulation is 22,000. She came back with 5 retailers, and the total circulation of those 5 retailers was something like, I don't know, 4,000 people. And I sat there in front of her, and I went like this. This person's no longer with the company. This person died. This person got promoted. You have the wrong title, et cetera, et cetera. So what's the point of the story? Once I fixed the circulation, I ran as much money as I could into the publication, because I could make one more sales call on a weekly basis, call it social networking and engineering, because every time the people that were most important to me opened up the publication, they got to see me, and I got to say, hi, how are you? And so that has to do with speed. My speed to get to the top people and the people at the bottom of an organization was just increased, Sam, because I corrected the circulation. If I hadn't corrected the circulation, my speed would have been dampened, because they wouldn't have seen it, and they would never know that we were launching new products.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now we have some time for some questions from the audience. Just raise your hand and we will bring a mic to you. I know the first question is always the toughest one first thing in the morning. So who's going to, oh, Margaret Peterson right there. Thank you. Could we get a mic to her? Raise your hand. Thank you.
So what services can the organizers or the here provide to improve the speed on events if you look out 2-3 years from now? We talked on the impact of the digital and the social engineering, and how no one had come to you and said, can you webcast, are you videoing this? What can we do to enhance it, the experience?
That's a great question. So my first answer would be ask a question. And the question is, how many of you have more than 15 to 20 apps, applets or servlets, that you've served down to your iPhone? Okay. It's a modicum of the room. Trust me, if you went in and you looked at the amount of applications and servlets available, you know, there's a lot of small companies that I can just, again, I'm not trying to placate the room. When I watched you stand and deliver, and I looked at, you know, who you are and the way you dress and the way you talk and who your titles are and all these different companies, the fact of the matter is there are applets on your iPhone that allow you to have a barcode reader on your iPhone. So when you go to the store, you just walk up to products and you barcode it, and it'll automatically tell you 15 places you can buy it and what the price is. So imagine if we knew that, and imagine if we decided, small group, we've got 25 of the most important customers on the planet. 25. Wouldn't I want to send them an iPhone, right, instead of a paperweight, with that applet already loaded, with an explanation as to, this is relevant to your business. I'm trying to help you. So when you come to the exhibition or trade show, you'll notice in our booth we have boxes. So we're not going to just show you the products. You can take your iPhone, wave the wand, and you'll see what the price is and where you can buy it right now. Is that not blue ocean? Because the rest of the day, this person's going to be walking around a show going, those are really good products. Where's your boxes? What do you mean boxes? We don't show boxes. We show products. Well, I have a barcode reader. I want to see your price. I want to see where your distribution is. I want to see where you can buy it. So, sorry for the lack of economy of language. We must all become masters of all of these various touchpoint technologies. All of us as carbon units and pedestrians have 3 lives: a mobile life, a business life, and a home life. And everyone we serve and everyone we sell to has a home life, a mobile life, and a business life. And the fact of the matter is, this mobile transition and mobile delivery of applets and servlets are changing how the people you call on and the people who come to exhibitions, their expectations. Social engineering side, there's at least 25 apps for exhibitions and trade shows where you can actually send to people that are prospects an applet, and as they're walking around the show, you can talk to them, almost text to talk. There's all kinds of applications. So my only suggestion is, if you're not a master of all of these different technologies and tools and software and applets and servlets and all the speed of it, my suggestion is pick someone in your company to become that master and let them propagate up and down the arena. And then use those tools when you go in to meet with people and show them, here's what we can do to help you outside of the floor space.
Hi, Peter. Great presentation. My name is Kerry Gumas. You mentioned that at the very beginning that one of the biggest flaws that you saw with the trade show program is the lack of follow-up post-show. Again, for the people in this room, I think that's definitely something that we experience on a day-to-day basis in terms of trying to retain customers or develop relationships with them. Could you give us 2 or 3 ideas, based on your experiences, of things that the show producer might be able to do to help close that loop at the back end for companies that may not have the resources of a large-scale enterprise?
Yes, sir. Well, one of the things, let's go back to CRM for a moment because, again, it's all about relevance and scale. I happen to work for some very large corporations, but I work for very small corporations. A company called Bigfoot Interactive, which became the #1 email marketing company in the U.S., and I was the chief operating officer there. But to that question, there are so many companies that don't have a CRM engine. There are so many companies that really don't understand the power of before and after. They don't really understand. They've never been a publisher. They don't understand circulation. They don't understand subscriptions. And you can help them if you just looked at least 2 of the slides, either the Wheel of Fortune or the last one, which is I call the digital architectural dashboard. If you were to walk in and explain to them, so now you even have them on the hook. Let's say they say, yes, I want to exhibit. Isn't that upselling for you? Isn't that added value? Doesn't that take you into arenas and places that you haven't been before? I don't have an advertising agency, but I have an advertising agency that's a boutique agency who's a very good friend of mine. They're called Giovanni Advertising in Paramus, New Jersey. I know everything about that company. I know everything that they can do. So I can go in as a chief consultant, stand and deliver on what can be done, and I don't even have to have the manpower to do it. I outsource it to this group, which is about 10,000 times better than the current group. So creative services, you'd be shocked at how important creative services are to these companies. The ability to do CRM, the ability to send out email marketing. And by the way, here's the holy grail. You may not want to be in this business. I'd love to be in it. What if they said, listen, we don't even have the manpower to keep up. Will you keep the database for us? Will you ping these people that we met with that came to our booth that we captured their names? Would you build that relationship for us? How important is your company to that company now? So as they grow, you're growing with them. And now you have a digital data mining database of people who came to the trade show in the plastics industry or in the CE industry that becomes very, very, very valuable. Oh, by the way, sidebar, Rule 27-6-3, be careful with collecting email addresses. You know why I love LinkedIn? I love LinkedIn. I have about 1,500 wonderful colleagues who are with me on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn because when they change their email address or they change their titles or jobs, it automatically updates. It's phenomenal. where in my email database, I've got email of Jim Jones, who's at Best Buy, and he leaves. Now I'm sending out a message to try to socialize with all these people, and he's gone, and I get a bounce back. So the individual's email address is really the holy grail. But you have to earn the right to ask for the individual email. You have to earn the right to ask for someone's email to begin with. Can I have your email address? No. It's the same as saying, can I have the American Express card number in your pocket? No. What? Imagine trying to ask someone for their personal email address. That's the holy grail. As business people, if someone will give you their personal email address, holy smokes. Oh, by the way, sidebar, if they give it to you, you better lead. You better be better and better every day so that they'll say to themselves, I'm so happy I gave my personal email address to Jim because I want to stay in touch. That guy is blue ocean. That guy's making me money. That man and woman is changing the way of the landscape of my business and my future and delivering return on investment and return on reputation. So if you look at that wheel or you look at the architecture, look at areas that you do have expertise on. And if you don't, then find yourself a partner. Find yourself a marketing partner who's got a commerce engine, who is a social engineering maven. Do that. And then use that as your weapon of choice when you're out there talking to people about superfueling and accelerating the money they're spending to congeneer with people before, during, and after. And then next year when it's time to renew, it's very easy because you're actually running their whole back end for them.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Wow.
2 more questions. One over there, please. Raise your hand. Please tell us your name and ask the question. Thank you.
I'm Doug Beiser. I was wondering if you could give us a couple of your top lessons learned regarding the demise of Comdex. I'd be interested in your thoughts on that.
Yes. Thank you very much. The number one demise, and this is my humble opinion, is arrogance. So I've worked with a lot of trade show groups, a lot of exhibitors. I have never seen a level of arrogance. I mean, one of the things that draws us to Sam, I mean, don't you wish in school they would teach you the persona of Sam? Where's Ellen? The balance between...
Only at ECEF do you go from the demise of Comdex to Sam and Ellen. Now, that can be quoted in the media. Let's move on maybe to the next question. So, get a little nervous about the whole Comdex thing.
So it really is when I say arrogance, the conundrum on the arrogance is that they treated you like a piece of meat. You know, if you don't come down here at this time, at this point, you lose your booth space. If you don't up right now, you're potentially going to have a chance to lose what you have this year. What? Who said that? It's in your contract. All of these, I can go on, and I don't have time to do it. The second reason that the demise of Comdex took place was, in my humble opinion, they took the eye off the ball. They thought they were in the exhibition business, but you're not in the exhibition business. You're not. You're in the servicing of imagination business. You service the imagination of people and convince them that if they go and do this exhibition, these wonderful things are going to happen. And the exhibitor services the imagination of the people who are panting, I can't wait to get in. So the problem for Comdex is they lost the fact that we don't sell the cold steel of TVs or PCs. We sell the dream of surfing the internet. We sell the dream of watching the Super Bowl in our living room, and they lost that mark. Gary Shapiro, who is one of the great leaders in trade shows, exhibitions, and everything that goes with it, if you haven't studied what Gary's doing, Gary is doing a lot of what I'm showing you right now. He has built an empire around the CEA and CES, and he has no arrogance. His people are great. Dan Cole is one of the nicest, gentlest, and caring leaders I've ever met with, and I didn't get that from Comdex.
Okay. Moving on to the last question, please.
I think Ellen should answer the last question about you, Sam, but go ahead.
Oh, there we go. Right in the back. Thank you.
I'll sing later.
Well, we'll do the back and then over there. Because I think the back is
Peter Chris Meyer, how do you measure return on reputation?
That's a very, very good question. Let me show you how I did it. And again, from my perspective, when I started with Samsung Electronics, our warranty card returns was 0.2%. So when we sold product, whether we sold 10 or 1,000, 0.2% of the people who bought our products returned the card. You want to know why? Think of it as a consumer. If you buy something you think has very little value, and you buy something that, you know what, I'm going to buy it, it's cheap, never heard of the brand, and if it breaks, I'm going to throw it away. That's what happened. 6.5 years later, we were heralded, and there was articles written about it. Our return on investment on warranty cards was 22%. The industry average is 3 to 4%. So there's an example of return on reputation. The brand value, and brand is nothing more than a promise, the demand value, and demand is based upon return on investment, help drive the return on reputation. The second piece on return on reputation is the PR community. Why do you think, you know, I went into the Apple store and I asked the salesperson, why is Apple so powerful? And you know what he said to me? Because we're the greatest advertising and marketing company in the world. And then I asked the manager, why are you so great? We are the greatest advertising and marketing company. I told them they were both wrong. They go, what are you talking about? Do you all realize that Steve Jobs was at $1.60 a share when he came out with the iPod? Do you know he spent $325 million in 5 months advertising those silhouettes? Remember those? Do you know that everyone thought he ran that for 3 years? Why? Because the return on reputation had to do with a phenomenal product that was Blue Ocean, a phenomenal advertising campaign that mirrored the power of that product, and finally, the answer to the question on how you measure return on reputation is through your PR firm. Every year, I sit down with my PR firm, and I want to see every single article we receive and every article of the competition. And when the editorial community votes and gives us more ink, it means it's driving our brand value, and I bring that back to the people I do business with, I bring it back to the consumers, and it super fuels our brand and helps our return on reputation.
Well, that was a wonderful opening keynote. Peter, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, very much.